Well, hello, freshmen and sophomores. It's time for English class. I've given you all uh, some work to do with adjectives in your packet, and I'm going to be covering today some of the rules on adjectives uh, as far as their comparative and superlative forms. So if you want to get your books and follow along with me, just pause it right here and I'll wait. Okay, glad to have you back. Um, as you know, an adjective is a word that modifies a noun or a pronoun. It gives a little more insight into just exactly what a noun or a pronoun is. It tells things like what kind, which one, how many, how much of something, whose something is. All of those things are done with adjectives. Well, today we're going to be talking about degrees of comparison. There are three degrees of comparison. One is the positive. You say something is good or something is pretty. That is just uh, the positive degree. The examples that your book give, for example, is the mattress is firm, and that adjective firm describes mattress. It just says it's firm. Bob is a skillful driver. Skillful being the adjective that describes um, driver. And then a diamond is a valuable gem. Valuable modifying gem being the uh, uh, adjective, the positive degree, used in the positive degree. But you can also use adjectives in the comparative degree. And when you use the comparative degree, you are comparing just two different things. You may be comparing two people, you may be comparing two automobiles, you may be comparing anything, but it is only two things that you compare. Most one syllable words you can uh, make the comparative form just by simply adding er on the end. Most one syllable words are that way, and some of the two syllable words are that way. But most two syllable words, to make the comparative, you have to use the words more or less beforehand. Uh, uh, he was, um, oh, I can't think of a good example. Um, he was more worn out than she was. And so you put more on there. Worn out being the word that you're modifying, and that is a two syllable word, and so you have to put more or less with it. Adjectives with three or more syllables usually, almost without exception, have more or less used with it. Now, the superlative degree is when you're comparing three or more things. And so you can't list three things and say that one was um, quieter. We'd have to say it's the quietest. So when we use the superlative, comparing three or more, if they're one syllable, and sometimes two syllable, all we have to do is put est on the end. If they are two syllables, most often though, you have to use most or least beforehand. And with 3 or more syllables, it's almost all the time you have to use most or least before it. The problem, though, with the English language is you never know. You can make a rule, but there's always exceptions. So a lot of times you just have to go to the dictionary. The dictionary will tell you what the comparative and superlative are. There's certain words, though, that don't follow that regular form of just putting an ER on the end of a word for the comparative or EST on the end of the word for superlative. And your book lists them here, these irregular forms of comparative and superlative. For instance, good, we wouldn't say gooder and goodest. It's good, better, and best. The same thing with well. We might say that I'm well, but we wouldn't say that you're weller or that someone else is the wellest. You would say well, better, and best. Bad is bad, worse, worst. Ill is ill, worse, and worst. Many is many, more, and most. And much is much, more, and most. I've given you the exercise to do at the bottom of page 242. I'm going to do the first one with you. It says in the exercise, in the blank, write the correct form of the adjective in parentheses. And you've got the parentheses at the end of the sentence. And all those adjectives in parentheses are in the positive degree. And so they're going to want you to come up with the comparative or the superlative. But number one, let's just do it together. Vanessa is the blank member of the ladies trio. And the adjective that we're using is tall. Well, we have to decide, what are we talking about? What are we comparing? Are we comparing 2 or are we comparing 3? Well, in this case, it's a trio. And so we're comparing 3. The answer would be Vanessa is the tallest member of the ladies trio. That's all for this little video. If you have any questions, ask them on here. I'll be glad to answer them. Thanks and God bless.